I think gun control is extremely important to me as a voter because, well, it's basically one of our rights as American citizens to bear arms.
To me as a voter, the issue is completely relevant. I mean, it's one of the biggest topics that there is.
It seems like it's a bigger issue when we had a catastrophe, a tragic incident like we had in Orlando. But I don't think you can start taking guns away from Americans. It was an evil person that did this, not the guns.
I don't think that there's a need for any more gun control that we have. In Chicago, we have the strongest gun control laws in the country, and every 20 minutes a person is killed.
I don't believe that citizens should be able to buy military-type weapons.
The opportunity to buy assault weapons, I'm really on the fence with that. What do you need that for in your house?
They should not be able to buy certain military-grade weapons, such as grenades, mortar launchers, etc.
I do not believe that people should be able to buy military weapons unless they're in the military.
I do not think citizens should be able to buy AR-15 assault rifles or anything like that. I don't see the need in having anything like that to defend your home or yourself anywhere, and too much damage can be done with private citizens having them. We see it all the time.
Civilians should not be allowed to buy military-style weapons whatsoever. That's for the military. Keep those guns off the streets.
Some Democrats are trying to change the Second Amendment to the extent of possibly repealing it completely.
Not just middle-of-the-road Democrats, but more on the left Democrats are trying to repeal the right to own guns to appease a certain agenda.
I do believe that they're trying to repeal the Second Amendment. I think that no matter what gun laws are passed, people will find a way to get into a club with a gun, and it doesn't matter.
When we took to the Manhattan streets this week to get opinions about guns and gun control, we had a pretty good idea of what the responses would be. What struck me personally was more than opinions I read and responded to on social media. My Facebook page is where a lot of interesting conversations are held featuring a rather wide and eclectic range of people. This was the reaction about being shocked. Those who asked over and over again, how could this happen in America? I would respond, why are you so shocked? And why do we believe that a legal gun put in the hands of an individual we know nothing about could have such a wide-ranging impact on our daily lives? We already have our answers, if only we would listen and learn.
The President's car is now turning onto Elm Street, and it will be only a matter of minutes before he arrives at the trademark.
And very often you'll find a zipper hidden in the arm.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You'll excuse the fact that I'm out of breath, but about 10 or 15 minutes ago, a tragic thing, from all indications at this point, has happened in the city of Dallas. Let me quote to you this. And you'll excuse me if I am out of breath. A bulletin, this is from the United Press, from Dallas. President Kennedy and Governor John Connally have been cut down by assassins' bullets in downtown Dallas.
Good evening. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, 39 years old and a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and the leader of the nonviolent civil rights movement in the United States, was assassinated in Memphis tonight. A sniper's bullet cut down Dr. King as he stood on a hotel balcony in Memphis. Within an hour, Dr. King was dead. That happened at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The nation was shocked. President Johnson expressed horror and then postponed his trip to Hawaii until tomorrow. We're going to go to Memphis now.
The Lorraine Motel is a favorite place for Negro leaders to stay while in Memphis. It's a very nice new modern motel. He was on the second floor balcony, standing exactly where these two officers are, talking with some of his aides at the time of the shooting. The scene immediately became confused. Officers ran forward and attempted to secure the area. The shot apparently came from an apartment building directly across the street.
Mayor Yorty has just sent me a message that we've been here too long already. So my thanks to all of you, and now it's on to Chicago, and let's win there. Thank you very much.
He still has the gun. The gun is pointed at me right at this moment. I hope they can get the gun out of his hand. Be very careful. Get the gun. Get the gun. Get the gun. Stay away from the gun. Get the gun. Stay away from the gun. His hand is frozen. Get his thumb. Get his thumb. Get his thumb. Take a hold of his thumb and break it if you have to. Get his thumb. Hold him. Hold him. We don't want another Oswald.
Here comes the doctor.
Bobby's over there.
Man, this assistant says, help Bobby. Help Bobby. Who did the shooting? Does anybody know?
We're right here and we all hit the floor.
How could this happen in America? A president of the United States, a young man groomed to be leader of the free world and only just beginning to make his mark. A gorgeous sunny day in Dallas, throngs of fellow Americans who for the first time since World War II could literally taste a new era, new beginnings, new hopes, all shattered by the pull of a trigger. A deranged individual armed with a cause that will never truly be known, using a weapon that was legally purchased and delivered to him via the Postal Service. The man who had no aspiration to become president, a young man willing to face certain death at the hands of those who decided his color was the delineating line between living and dying. He had indeed made a mark on this nation. His was the voice preparing this country for a long overdue and necessary delivery into the future. A cool and somewhat humid day in Memphis, Tennessee, traveling inauspiciously with aides and bodyguards, understanding how the world had changed around him, becoming meaner, more hateful, more mentally ill, and more prepared than ever before to deliver violence anywhere, anytime. But armed with a dream, he believed the world could and would become a better place for everybody, all shattered by a single shot from across the street. One pull of a trigger from the hand of a sick and twisted mind who later said he had nothing to do with the murder. And despite confessing to the crime, we will never know the real reason, other than a man armed with a legally purchased weapon who stalked his prey before firing a fatal shot. And a man about to become president of the United States. A young man groomed to be leader of the free world who had already made a mark on this nation and was seeking to take up the mantle of a brother who was the epitome of a new and brighter America. Just after midnight in Los Angeles, surrounded by followers and believers who could taste a new era, new beginnings, new hopes, shattered again with pulls of a trigger by a deranged individual. But this time we knew the cause. That young politician supported Israel in their war against Arabs in 1967, and the madman cited a promise by the young senator to send 50 bombers to the nation of Israel and, in his own words, do harm to the Palestinians. America had borne witness to the first major incident of political violence on home soil stemming from a conflict involving another nation, a portent of things to come with regard to America and the Middle East. How could something like this happen in America? A president, a senator, a man espousing peaceful resistance, gunned down in broad daylight in a crowded room by people that in retrospect should have raised more than a few eyebrows as they passed through their daily life. But at that time, isolated moments and surely not a portent of things to come in the nation that carried with pride the handle, freedom for all. All this is dusty history right now. Most of us were not even aware of what was happening as it was happening because we were not even born, too young, too sheltered, too naive, too willing to accept that bad things happen to good people. And in the end, there's not really much we can do about it, resigning ourselves to being little more than just spectators. We are not spectators. At the very least, we shouldn't be. Yet, damn us all, we are just that. Instead of learning from history and understanding the level of hate and violence that is now greater than at any time in our modern existence, we are little more than sheep being herded into very specific mental pens of being told what to think, how to act, and why the blood that runs in our streets, our schools, and our offices is something that can't be stopped because of someone else's inactions. Once we were a nation that when faced with senseless acts of violence, we would spring into action, band together, come up with solutions, and decide we would not allow anyone to inflict their violence upon us and tear us apart. Dusty history, until certain members of this society learn how to stop living in abject fear and inflicting that fear upon others, until we decide that in America we're better than that, and we commit ourselves to seeing that great men, great women, and those kids who can become great will stop being targeted and slaughtered by cowards who find it far too easy to kill in the name of politics, religion, money, racist hate, or for no reason at all. Until we make that decision, and we have it in front of us every day. And that is telling it like it is. Rock on, true believers. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend. Good night, and good luck.